So, hello, welcome to episode 19 of Customer Experience R&R with myself, Richard Knight, and my good colleague and yeah, I'll say it, friend, Ryan Huxtable.
Promotion.
We're getting in touch with my feelings, aren't I?
Yeah.
So all of this COVID malarkey, it's starting to make me really quite emotional, which is not a bad thing, to be perfectly honest. Getting connection with them, Ryan. This is what we're talking about.
Connecting with your clients helps you retain more of them, doesn't it?
Well, exactly. It's all that sort of emotional intelligence side of things. But yeah, how's your week been? How are you getting on? Busy?
Great question. Yeah, busy week this week. Yeah, lots of people actually getting in touch to talk about client experience and how that can help rebuild their business. And lots of businesses I'm talking to, Rich, are thinking about getting some qualitative data now and using that to plan for 2021. And actually, that's a really proactive stance to take, because you think about what the government have announced this week about sort of more restrictive lockdown measures, 6 months of challenging times, I think, for many people. The opportunity to use that time by having some great insight to do that, I think, is really important. Mm-hmm. And Anna Lake, who is part of our Southwest CX Thought Leadership Group, gives us our thoughts today, Rich, on how to use great insight. And client experience is obviously gives you great insight when you ask for it, to how you can use that to market actually to your customers to create more advocacy. I think she uses the term, it's one of the most cost-effective ways of marketing. But she also then talks about how that can really help you retain clients. So it was really great to talk to Anna. So should we take a look?
Yeah, let's have a look. Here she is.
Well, good afternoon, Anna, and thank you for joining me this afternoon on this week's R&R. So for our listeners and our watchers, Anna will introduce herself in a second, but I'm really delighted to have Anna join us. So Anna is a fellow Southwest CX Group colleague who works with the wider Southwest CX Group on the thought leadership about how customer experience can really help grow a business and therefore the wider economies. And you know, we know at the moment how important getting the economy back on track is. So Anna, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you help clients.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Great to be here. I am a freelance marketer. I'm based in the not very sunny area of Tavistock. I work with clients to help them really gain an insight into what their clients think about them. So I run client listening programs for companies of various sizes and in different sectors, and help them to really get an insight into how they can help their clients, what their clients think they do really well, what their clients think they might do better, and how they might need to make any changes in order to improve and to grow, to retain more clients and to attract new ones.
Brilliant. So a real kindred spirit on this stuff, which is great. So I'm particularly interested, just probably my first question I want to ask is, you mentioned your freelance marketeering skills, and why do you think customer experience is important to create advocacy within a brand?
So customer experience is so important because the experience that you give your customers, they will often pass to, they'll often tell other people. So there is an old adage that if you give a great experience, that people will tell 10 people, but if they get a rubbish experience, they'll tell 100 people. That is not necessarily true. People, yes, they do vocalize, especially on social media, about rubbish experiences, but they also are turning a corner, and people are really talking about positive customer experience now. And platforms like social media are a way for brands to be able to talk about the positive customer experiences that they offer, and for their own customers to advocate those to others in order to be able to gain more custom.
Yeah, it's a great point, isn't it? The whole social media world brands can live and die. I know Rich and I at the beginning of the pandemic were talking about how some really famous British brands were getting it completely wrong in terms of how they were reacting to public sentiment about what they were saying, what they were doing, and really just not listening to what their clients or their customers wanted. And unfortunately, some of those brands are having to make job cuts, and some really sadly have gone to the wall. So you mentioned, didn't you, about advocation and using that sentiment through those social channels to create more customers. So from a marketeer's perspective, what really excites you about great customer sentiment?
I think that it's a great way for companies, businesses to stand out from their competitors. It's a great way for them to show that they do really listen to what their customers want and need, and how they go over and above those client expectations. And advocacy is basically free advertising. If somebody is telling somebody else to buy your product, you don't need to spend the money to advertise to get that next client. So it's a fantastic marketing tool, and a very cost-effective one at that.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like that sentiment, actually, because this whole point around the recommend, the use of that feedback to create more clients for you is a really cost-effective way. Have you seen brands in your past, Anna, where they haven't recognised that, and they've carried on sort of doing the same old thing and running seminars and print advertising or social media advertising or LinkedIn advertising, and once they've got the clients, they don't look after them, and their churn rate is really high? What's your view on people that get that really wrong? And I'm probably like me, I've seen lots over the years.
So it's interesting, because I was just commenting on a post from Tom Murphy, who's also in our group, earlier, and he was talking about how a lot of businesses track the customer journey to the point of purchase. So they know that they need a responsive website with lots of calls to action and social media posts saying why you should buy our product or service. But then once the customer or client has signed up, that can sometimes be where they think the journey ends, when actually that's really just the beginning. So it's interesting that some people don't then track client sentiment beyond the point of purchase and the journey that they go through. So I think it's really important for businesses to look at what's happening among their client base once they've got them on board, and to make sure that they're keeping in regular contact and checking in, because it can be so easy for firms to become ambivalent, think, right, I've got that client, I've got that customer, I don't really need to do anything. But actually, especially nowadays, where competition is fierce, businesses are lowballing to try and steal other people's business, you've really got to be on it and understand what your clients need at all points, no matter if they've been a client for a month or for 10 years.
So if you were advertising, if you were working for a client and you were creating a marketing and advertising strategy, what are the key things that you would be focusing on at the moment? Because there's a lot of noise and sentiment around businesses are obviously price sensitive at the moment because of the current economic conditions. Do you still think price is a key driver, or do you think experience still plays a massive part in decision making about purchasing?
I think it depends on the type of product and the value. So I think with low value B2C products, price is still one of the overriding factors. But when you're looking at a service, so for example, accountancy or law, a real specialist service, actually there's been quite a lot of research that shows that buyers of those services are happy to pay a higher price as long as they are getting an excellent service and experience. So experience comes top of the agenda a lot of the time for buyers of professional and specialist services. So, you know, price, that they're not so price sensitive.
It comes back to that that thing that we talk a lot about at Insight 6, where this kind of, you know, being a trusted advisor, reaching out when you've got you know, a real emotional need, and, you know, often when you're dealing with money, or, you know, a family event where you need, you know, a legal service, as you said, or an accountancy service, that's when you're not probably going to skimp, and you're going to make sure you get the best advice. I think that's a really, really good point. Okay, cool. So once you've got your customers and you've got them on board, you've onboarded them, and, you know, you mentioned earlier that Tom Murphy was saying you kind of get them to that point and then don't do anything. What key piece of advice would you give a business around retaining a client once you've got them on board? Listen,
actively listen to them. So it's great if they've come on board with you, that's fantastic. It's a good exercise to find out why. So if you've been involved in a competitive tender process, why have they chosen you above your competitors? And then actually keeping in regular contact, actively listening to your clients, not always sending surveys, but picking up the telephone, or if possible, having face-to-face discussions and actually checking in. So, for example, you've got a new client 6 months down the line. Are you still delivering? So they said, we appointed you because of these reasons. Are you still delivering on those reasons why they appointed you over somebody else in the first place? Really important, I think. Keep checking in, keep listening, ask big open questions, and really don't avoid, you know, difficult conversations, because it's sometimes when you think a client might have an issue that you need to have those conversations before they go elsewhere.
That's a great point, isn't it? I think a lot of times, and I've seen this a lot during the pandemic, is businesses you ask a business, you know, what are your clients? Oh, we sent a survey. Okay, great. What did the survey tell you? And they'll give you the top 3 things. And when you ask them, what did your top 10 clients tell you? They don't know, because they've not picked, to your point, they've not picked up the phone and just had a really open conversation just to ask them how they are.
Yeah.
You know, it's really simple stuff that, you know, you and I profess about all the time, but it makes such a difference to a relationship, and the rapport that you build with a brand, and that advocacy you talked about earlier really comes quickly, doesn't it, once you've got that relationship? So yeah, fantastic. Look, Anna, I really want to thank you for those top tips today. I think you make some really, really common sense points around how to attract, you know, use that great customer experience statistical data that you've got, and market it hard, and get those recommends out, and, you know, use it as a cost-effective way, as you said, to get more clients. And then when you've got them, actively listen to what they want. I think that's a brilliant point, and a good remind for all those businesses that are listening out there. So thanks for your time today, and thanks for being a fantastic member of the Southwest CX Group.
You're welcome. Thanks, Ryan.
Another great interview there. Maybe you should be going on to the BBC News, Ryan. I think, you know, take over from Paxman, but yeah, some great insights you mentioned there about that cost effectiveness of gathering insight and utilizing your customers to refer your business. It's the dream of marketing, isn't it? You don't have to put money into that. Well, you do, by being great at customer experience as a whole, but actually then the referral process that goes through is a done deal, because people want to tell people about having a great experience. Really, yeah, we're British and we like a good moan, but when something great happens, it's great to be able to tell other people, because it makes you feel good, and referring to other organisations and businesses, but also you're supporting those people who don't know about that business yet to actually be able to find something that's really great. So I thought that piece of insight was fantastic from Anna.
Yeah, I agree. I think just picking up on that point you just made there, Rich. Interesting. My last 2 clients have come through a recommendation, and actually, when from a brand perspective, when somebody comes to you and says so and so has recommended you, because, you know, that gets you 80% over the line, I think, a lot of the times, because somebody who's trusted to them has suggested that clearly they've got a pain point in their business, and they want a solution to that. So having that opportunity to recommend, and also the other thing I'd say is to recommend, when you're talking to somebody who you might be talking to them about their business, ask them if they're a client to recommend you, because that really helps your business grow in a way that is through the experience that client has got with you. The other thing I thought that was really interesting, what Anna said, was she talks about this active listening when you market, you use customer experience to market, it's a really cost-effective way of doing it, and then people come through your doors and you convert them. But then what do you do with them? Do you actively listen to them throughout? I mean, it's something we talk about in Insight 6 a lot with our clients, about the journey and the touch points, and are you actively listening to your customers during that journey and making sure you're holding on to them?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that listening that enables you to nip the issues in the bud, as it was spoken about there. And it reminded me about a webinar that was on the other day that Lucy, my wife and partner in Insight 6 up here in Dorset, Wiltshire, was listening to with Tim Peake. Great astronaut man himself, and he was talking about how when they're in space, they go out their way to, when there's issues and friction between people within that environment, they go out their way to nip it in the bud early to avoid the explosion in emotional problems within a small environment. And actually, it's very true of the customer piece and what Anna was talking about there. With the insight, you can shut that door before the horse has bolted and all of that. Those marvelous words. But it's key to work out how you're doing that. And whether it's, since you mentioned the surveys, don't over survey, but you've got to do that as well. So an automated system that actually asks for shorter, sharper bits of information is great. We do one of them, don't we? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So if anybody would like any information about that, please let us know. But also picking up the telephone, having a chat. For those people that you know really well, particularly that when you're providing services, you get to know your clients really well. So therefore, picking a telephone up and just saying, how are you doing? Is a great way of gauging, we're doing okay. However, what you've been doing hasn't quite been landing as well as it could be. Great. So how do we make it better for you going, into the end of the year and into next year? So really useful thing to do. And it's nice. Particularly this time in the environment that we're living in at the moment, it's nice to talk. It doesn't always have to be a solution either. It just needs that sounding board can often help. Which gives your customers a bit more sort of breathing room and ability to say, okay, they listen to me, fine, okay, and I can come out of what could be known as the blue flame situation. Where customers can be on blue flame. Do you remember when you were at school when you had your Bunsen burner?
Bunsen burner.
And it turned up and it was blue flame. It's really hot. It boils everything really quickly. Our emotions go like that. So people are going to be in blue flame, and if you listen to them, what happens is that a Bunsen burner, those emotions get turned down into the yellow flame. And the yellow flame, do you remember? You could put your hand through the yellow flame.
Yeah, you
could actually interact with it.
Lovely and warm, isn't it?
A bit more logical. Yes, it wasn't going to burn you. So blue flame customers can be in, but if you're listening and you're asking them, preempting those blue flame moments, they may well stay in a yellow flame state, and you can then gather more information and provide them with solutions that they're looking for, and they will remain loyal and keep referring, which I think is a great thing.
I tell you what, you've got it all. We've got it all on this podcast. Not only we've got amazing people that join us, like Anna Lake, we've got Tim Peake.
Yes.
We've got Bunsen burners.
Oh,
we've got blue flames. We've got yellow flames. But I want to just bring our listeners back to the key of what we're talking about this week, which is actively listen to your clients.
Yep.
Use that insight to create recommendations and to create interest in your brand. As Anna put it, it's one of the most cost-effective ways of doing it. And then when you get them on board, check in with them, make sure you're having those regular conversations. It's important, of course, to have a feedback system in place. But as you said, Rich, picking up that phone is really, really important.
Yeah.
So, those core, I sometimes think when we come on these podcasts every week, we talk about some really basic stuff, but some of this is basic, but because it's basic, people overlook it. And they do that at its peril. So,
yeah.
So, excellent. Great. So listen, guys, if you liked what you heard today, please like, share and comment. Next week, we are going to talk about something really exciting that can really help businesses move forward by understanding where they are. So yeah, look forward to chatting that through with you, Rich.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic, and that'll be our double. Sorry, I'll put my teeth back in. That will be our 20th episode. It's the anniversary, the 20th anniversary. I feel so much closer to you now, Ryan.
Anniversary. Yeah, I'm a friend now. I'm a friend.
Well, yeah, you've moved on up. We're doing okay. Just if we drink more cider, everything will be fine, won't it?
Everything will be fine. Yeah, I mean, I can cope with it 6 months as long as there's cider.
Yeah, exactly. Boris can throw anything at us. We'll survive.
Yeah, as long as it comes with a can of Thatcher's or other brands are available, of course, I'm happy.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for listening. I've been Richard Knight.
And I've been Ryan Huxtable. Have a great week.